I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
What up, everybody? Welcome back. Oops, the podcast. We're here. We're doing it up. We're doing it big. Got Mr. Lynch with me. He's looking good.
I'm with GIULIO. We're back in a chair.
Back in a chair.
Not quite at the couch.
I'm not at the couch yet.
But a chair is the in-between right now.
My posture is important. Well, I first like to point out, Lynch, that you are actually, I don't know if you're doing this on purpose, you're wearing separate teams that are both pirates.
I did not. I never noticed that. Wow.
Are indeed.
Yeah.
It looks nice, though.
Thank you.
Good color scheme for you.
For the non-YouTubers, Seton Hall Pirates.
And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Looking good, pal.
Thank you.
So I'm good, but I'm improving a bit. It's still like debilitating, like chronic pain, man. What a crazy portal I've unlocked that I wish I didn't need to know about yet. Like I can't imagine what it's like for people who have more severe versions of this, whether it's from an accident or something where like it's just pain that doesn't go away, can get worse at any time. And if you're not extremely careful and thinking about it constantly, will immediately your health will start to sort of decrease or in quality. So there's a path forward for me. Like there's this like injection that I can get right in my cervical spine. It's like an epidural that theoretically is supposed to help a lot. And in people in my age range, like it will make me feel less pain on the road to recovery as long as I keep doing PT, et cetera. There's a high likelihood I'll just like make a complete recovery, right? But in order to get that, I need to have an MRI. And in order so that they know where to do it. And then to get it, I need there's like an approval process the same way that would go into an MRI. Dealing with insurance companies, man. I know it is like hack at this point, but my company's Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, it has been such a disaster that it is crazy. Like I got a phone call saying that I was approved for an MRI. I've been spending my entire day dealing with like insurance companies for the past couple of days. And it's just brutal. Like it feels like my life is on hold. But I called them and whatever, I'm setting up my MRI. I get a phone call that I've been approved. The authorization for the MRI has been approved. Great. I then get a phone call from the radiology place saying it was not approved and therefore they have to cancel my appointment and postpone it. I'm like, oh, okay. I just got a phone call saying it was approved. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. They call the place that does the approval. Not only is it not approved, they don't even know what they're talking about. They're like, what are you talking about? There's never been that submitted. And they're like, all right, we'll submit it. And they're like, all right, well, we need the doctor's notes, which they already had. So it just feels intentional, dude. And it got to the point where I was like saying this on the phone to the insurance people. They're like, that is like, I'm like, it feels intentional. And they're like, that is not true, sir. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Because everybody else in America doesn't agree about this. This is literally like a hack topic at this point. Mm-hmm. Insurance companies sucking. So I'm just kind of like, and the thing that blows about it, dude, is that I'm going to Winnipeg, which is like not easy to get to. It requires 2 flights in both directions and like flying really hurts for this. The flights aren't super long, but there's like layovers, whatever. Like it's just going to suck. And then I have to perform all weekend, which will hopefully be fine. I did my stand show. Thank you for everybody for coming out. It was pretty fine, but then the weekend was kind of rough. So like if I'm moving around dynamically like I used to, it can be hard. So there's that. And then I have one day here and I have a big meeting that's like a long meeting that day. And then I'm going to LA for 6 days. So I'm basically not going to be able to get the thing I need that will prevent me from being in pain constantly. And I'm like pretty worried about it.
Yeah.
So I have like a few days to like make progress recovery wise. So I'm hoping that I'm able to do that, which is part of why I'm sitting in this chair. But I should be sitting in the chair anyway. And yeah, it adds this like really frustrating element to one's life where it's like my life was stressful to begin with. And now I can't even do the things I need to do. I can't exercise. I can't like walk around the way I want to. It just blows, man. So sorry to be a bummer, guys, but this is just what we're doing here.
It's what really sucks too is that insurance should be helping you right away. Oh, and like they have the reputation of always being a roadblock. I think I can't speak on behalf of the company that I worked for, but in sales, you're allowed to say, oh, we can't do that until you are disputed 3 times. So if they were to say, oh, we don't have that information, and then you're like, no, you're supposed to have it. If you push back, I think over X amount of times, then they have to do something about it. Or they have to acknowledge it, or legally they need to admit that they do have it. They built these barriers, like you mentioned off mic, to make it impossible, to make you feel defeated so that you pay fully out of pocket because people don't have the willpower to fight like that.
Yeah.
And this should not be legal. So I know there
should not be legal.
There were instances with some products for not the company I worked for where if people complained once, sorry, twice, sorry, 3 times, yeah, let me get my manager on that right now. Crazy. And it's just, that's like a fucked up thing.
Well, it's interesting because now I'm just going to start going, can you help me? And they're going to say, sorry. I'm going to say, can you help me? They're going to say, sorry. And I'm going to go, can you help me? And they're going to say, no. I'm going to say, sorry, I was told that.
Yeah.
I figured it was worth a shot. But dude, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I now know the root of the problem. And obviously it was always the insurance company. But I've covered my bases so that anything that the insurance company says to me, I can dispute and be like, no, that's not true, X, Y, Z. And then they just throw their hands up and they go, I don't know then. The third party company does this. And you can't get in touch with the third party company. Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy. And when you do, if you lie, you're like, oh yeah, I'm a doctor. Yeah, I'm this, I'm that. They just transfer you to your health insurance company back to so you actually can't talk to anybody. And I'm just looking forward to getting off of this insurance, which I'm going to do when I get married. I think Hillary's is better than mine. So very much looking forward to that. And it's such a bummer. But don't give up. There's always some gray area with this shit. And even though I have basically like lost the battle here, like they're still like working to get it done faster, even though it's taking literally fucking forever. And my friends that are helping me who are in Illinois, the guy's like, if you were in Illinois right now, this would have already been handled. I'm like, ooh, sneak diss.
Yeah.
But facts. And New York City does make it feel hard to like get shit done with all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to get into it too much because I think we could talk about it the entire episode. But as someone that's self-employed, my insurance, I don't have a phone number for them.
Damn.
I like don't even have
I can help you with this. But
I know my plan, but my company was dissolved since I signed up with them.
Oh shit.
And so it's just really, really, really tough when you don't have like an Aetna on your side or like a big name. It is almost impossible. It took me forever to get appointments scheduled. Now I got a good system, but
you figured it out. But like a lot of places didn't take your insurance probably. And was it that kind of thing?
it was a lot of places that were like, what kind of insurance is that? That's not insurance.
Right.
Like responses. And then I'm my liaison.
Yep.
To a place I don't even that doesn't have a name anymore.
Yeah,
it doesn't have a phone number.
Oh, sir, is it the XYZ PPO go fuck yourself plan? Or is it the, you know what I mean?
It sounds something like that.
It's so confusing on purpose and it's so whack, dude.
Yeah. And as self-employed people, we especially don't have time to dedicate to that. It is like a full-time or part-time job just finding out what your insurance plan is.
Yeah, it sucks.
So I think I've mentioned one of the most evil things that you could do legally is if somebody pisses you off, put their phone number into one of those insurance inquiry websites. Because you can't just go to Aetna.com and sign up for Aetna. You have to go to one of these like booking.com type third-party websites, put your phone number in, and then get bombarded by every single insurance company to compete for your business. And after you sign up with an insurance company, they will keep calling because they never take you off the list.
Right.
So if there's someone that you really don't like, put their phone number on there. They'll be getting phone calls forever.
Dude, yeah, it's so backward, and it is literally fucking embarrassing and pathetic that the richest country in the world doesn't have the richest country in the world doesn't have a better situation for that.
Yeah.
Again, cliche after cliche, but it's fucking whack.
Yeah. You tell me about the stand show.
Oh,
You
yeah.
sent me a text message about it. I was hanging out with Giulio before the show, and then I dipped right before he went on, and then he texted me after the show
Yeah,
saying
there's
some funny stuff happened. But he said he was saving it for the pod, so.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I think either 3 for 3 or 4. I think 4 for 4, actually. 4 for 4 sold out stand shows since I've been like touring and headlining. So thank you again for making another one sick. It was great. But yeah, dude, I encountered such a fucking funny thing. So there's a guy who listens to the show. Not going to shout him out specifically, just in case like somehow this is upsetting to his boy. I don't think it will be. He'll probably just think it's funny. But at the end of the show, you know, some of the people were hanging around. And it was cool. Like, it's always fun when people stick around, hang out, have drinks, whatever. And I see this one guy like talking to Hillary, and he's talking to her for a while, And I'm not like getting involved because I'm like threatened by this guy talking to her, but like, I'm just making sure that she's not annoyed. Because sometimes there can be this vibe where like somebody's talking to her and she just kind of lets them because she's being nice. And there's a gray area between when that person's taking advantage or if she's just actually in the combo. So I'm sitting there and I see her kind of chuckle at one point, and I'm like, what's so funny? And the guy says this, and I couldn't hear anything about what they were talking about. I had no idea what they were talking about. And this guy was just kind of like a bro. I was not expecting this to come out of his mouth, but this is what he said. She chuckles and he goes, and I go, what's so funny? And the guy goes, bro, she thinks all my inventions are sexist.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I just immediately start dying. I'm like, you're an inventor? Nice to meet you, Mr. Inventor. Like, this is insane. Like, how often do you meet an inventor to begin with? And typically, like, these kind of an inventor.
These kind of inventors.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, there's the type of guy who invented a device that changed the way a pacemaker works in the heart. That guy, like, isn't an inventor. That guy's like a heart doctor. Inventors are the guys who have the prototypes of their inventions in the trunk. Mm-hmm. And they're, like, running to the invention convention. And they have a thing like this guy had where it's like, all right, imagine a thing where you don't got to touch the toilet seat to lift it. You just step on the button and the toilet seat raises up, right? And
pretty good.
And I think this is the actual invention.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I guess Hillary's point must have been that a woman doesn't need that necessarily, or a woman would need the opposite, like a thing to make it go down, or I don't even know. I have no idea what the fuck specifically they were talking about, but apparently there was a series of male-centric inventions that he had brought up. And maybe she didn't think of it as sexist, but she thought that he was only hitting half of the market.
What?
It was so surprising.
What an explosive term for you to stumble into. Because there's 3 crazy things there. 1, my invention. She thinks they're crazy, or she thinks they're sexist.
They're sexist.
And then the tone in his voice as if you were to immediately agree with him before even finding out what the inventions are.
Right.
As if G is on his team.
Dude, it was funny. And the guy, so to make it clear, like the guy was not upset. He wasn't even frustrated. He was maybe like playfully frustrated. Like he was trying to impress her with his inventions that she likely did not ask about. But, you know, he's excited about them. It's fine. This is like a standard
Small talk
man talking to a woman situation. Guess what I do? Oh, you don't care? I'm going to tell you anyway. We've all done it as men.
Is he actually a toilet guy? Is that his actual invention?
I believe that was one of a series of his inventions. Now, it's unclear to me if his actual job is that of an inventor or if he's a guy who has a lot of inventions and he's known in his group of friends as being a guy who invents stuff. It's unclear. But you'd think that a guy who says my inventions is a guy who is actively getting things patented and being an inventor.
Yeah. I don't think you can't go on Indeed or ZipRecruiter and type in inventor for a job position. That's more entrepreneurial.
Correct. And I wonder even to what degree an inventor who successfully invents is like making a ton of money. It seems like there is a sort of working class inventor that exists out there who's got a couple that worked out and whatever. I don't know what happens in that world. Like maybe you make something and then maybe somebody makes something better and then yours doesn't work. Or maybe somebody buys the patent. Maybe that is a huge moneymaker or something. Like, I don't know. And it seems like patent law, there might be like ways around things where like you might have the patent, but somebody invents something that's new enough that it doesn't matter that you have the patent. Or somebody thinks of it before you. Like, it seems very, very stressful. And I wonder to what degree people are my grandfather invented the 3-ring notebook, so he's a bajillionaire. It seems as if, and I don't know, but my instinct tells me that that's more of an anomaly and that there are not a ton of like really wealthy inventors out there.
Yeah, I think with patents and things like that, like plagiarism is a little bit looser. Like, I think you can get away if you just make small little tiny deviations to whatever you're copying.
Interesting.
And you can get away with it. But
And I wonder if there's sort of like with insurance companies, like a way to sort of streamline the patenting process. Like, if you know the guy in the patent department, like, do you get a quicker turnaround? You know what I mean? Because
patent politics,
Lynch.
That'd be a great show.
I think that is the thing.
Patent politics,
I believe, because I think you need to go to like a government.
Oh, you definitely do, but
Yeah.
I didn't think about the politics of like two people racing
Totally.
to release something.
Well, you hear stories about that, like Alexander Graham Bell, like the Italian guy really invented the phone, but Alexander Graham Bell got there first or something. Like, you hear that story often.
There's a book called Patent Politics: Life Forms, Markets, and the Public Interest in the United States and Europe. So just maybe the title was the important part.
Well, it just goes to show that having a good idea is never enough, right? There's always like, it's not.
No, I mean, it's just a nothingism until it's somethingism.
And that goes for anything. Like, anything that like seems like a good thing, like immediately, there's much more to it, typically. That was pretty vague, but like, I mean that specifically. So patenting is an example. I have this great idea. No one's ever done it. Okay, first of all, if that's even true, which it may not be, you then need to go through this insanely involved process, and there's like investments involved, and you actually need to get the thing made, and it needs to work, and this and that. So like, just having some great idea isn't going to change your life. The same way with like, if you open a pack of cards and you have the Michael Jordan rookie card from whatever, like, you then need to immediately preserve it so that it's perfect, send it out to be graded, which takes a year. If you're able to even preserve it properly, like, there's ways that you can send the card that gives you a higher likelihood of getting it graded higher, like shit like that. So it takes the fun out of getting lucky sometimes. I guess I'm trying to think of ways where you can truly just get lucky. I guess the lotto, right? If you just win the lottery, what do? You drive to the lottery place. You're probably stressed. You have the ticket that you need. You drive very carefully, I'm sure. Put it in a laminated binder. I wonder if there's ever a time where you win the lottery and the clerk's like, "Can I see that? Did you really win?" And then he just steals the ticket.
Or he rips it.
Oh my God.
That's worse.
Oh my God. But don't they get kickback if somebody wins at their store? Is that part of it?
I think so.
He wants the whole thing.
I think so. Yeah, you gotta Charlie bucket your way home and like don't look back.
Are you
go
allowed
directly
to
home?
Yeah, you need to. Exactly. You talk to no one.
Yeah.
Or even if you were to find a bunch of cash on the sidewalk, that turns into a problem for you too. How'd you get all this cash? Are you allowed to just find cash? I don't know. Are you supposed to report it?
Yeah.
What if the guy who you found it from is a bad guy and now he's looking for you? We talked about this.
Yeah, there was I think a Billy Bob Thornton movie that came out where he stumbled upon. Wait a minute, is Billy Bob Thornton an actor? He was married to Angelina Jolie, right? Okay.
He's Sling Blade.
Yes.
He also wrote that movie, by the way.
Well, he did a movie where he found an airplane that crashed, and it was filled with a duffel bag of money, and then there was a brother involved, and then it became this whole thing, kind of like the scenario that we talked about months ago.
Yes.
Good movie.
So, dude, you know that story, there's a real story about something like that. I wonder if it's the same. A plane crashed in Yosemite at one point, and it was a drug plane. Everybody died. The first person, everybody died, and the first people to get to the plane were hikers because it was remote and it was like rock climbers. So these rock climbers were on the scene of the plane crash before the authorities, and they found all the drugs. They then took all the drugs and started selling them and became successful drug dealers and became rich. These like climbing bum dudes who were living on $2 a day, who like smelled, were now rich. And that's a true story.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Those are the type of people that you would want to stumble upon that. Like,
Right?
really aren't looking for it.
But even then, you need to like become a drug dealer now. You need to sell it. You need to find people to buy it. There's no like true lightning strikes and you're now, you know what I mean, in life.
The movie's called A Simple Plan.
When'd that come out?
99, I think. 98.
So Billy Bob Thornton, man, he's an interesting example of like where showbiz can take you. Apparently, he claims, and this may not be true because he wrote Sling Blade and acted in it. So he must have had some desire to be an actor.
Did he play, was he a disabled person in Sling Blade?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a great movie, great story. Won Best Original Screenplay. He may have won Best Actor, I forget. But he sort of burst on the scene after that. But he always said that he was more interested in being a musician than being an actor. And that he sort of didn't like acting or care about it that much. And I wonder if that was a change that happened or if he always felt that way. But it is interesting how the one thing that you're good at is typically what people know you for and what they want from you. So it can be hard to pivot into other things, which is why it's more impressive when people do. And I think we take those people for granted. And I'm not talking about athletes. Like if you're a special athlete, you're a special athlete. And like, sure, like you have to work hard and be focused and blah, blah, blah. But like not everybody can be Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders, multi-sport athletes. I'm talking about like creative endeavors. So like, for example, Michael Shannon, amazing actor, right? He also is in a band. He's in a band. I think they make original songs. But it's not like Michael Shannon can just go on a theater tour with his band and do the Oakdale in Connecticut and do the Meadows and like the Meadowlands Stadium. People want to see him act. He's an actor, right? So I always find that interesting. And with comedy, it's interesting too because there's a chance that people are doing a few different things and then one sticks. And then I wonder how hard it becomes to maintain the other things or if they all can pull each other up. And I think there are definitive things that maybe can define what that might be. Because like if you're a stand-up and you do a podcast, those two things tie in nicely, theoretically, because you're the same guy in both of those things. Does the difference come when you're like the medium of communication changes? So like if I'm an actor, but now I make music, I'm now doing something different. I'm not just Giulio talking. I'm not Giulio acting as Abraham Lincoln. I'm Giulio playing
The
music
banjo?
for the band Abraham Stinkin', which should go on our list.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Think of like Steve Martin playing the banjo and like he's done non-comedic concerts and tours
Interesting.
for the banjo and he's really good at it.
Interesting.
And I don't know, I got to listen to his book, but I don't know if he cares more about that, but he's a comedian, an actor, and he's really good at playing the banjo.
Yeah.
Another good example, Jared Leto.
Yeah.
He's in
30 Seconds to Mars.
30 Seconds to Mars, Oscar winner.
Yeah.
Also just like crazy man that climbed a building last year.
Really?
I think he free soloed a building in New York.
No way.
And he just I don't even know what to categorize that guy as.
That is what I'm talking about. That's not easy to do.
Yeah. And I don't think anything he does hurts the other thing.
Right.
I think he's above all the things that he does.
Mm-hmm.
That's a unique one.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder because you hear about those because their skill or their interests have become this pervasive thing that we all know about. But I wonder if, The Rock, maybe he's not a good example. I wonder if Brad Pitt is in The Office and they're like, all right, Brad, we want you to play Gerald Ford in the upcoming biopic. You're going to get nominated. It's going to be sick. And he's like, okay, cool. Yeah. But what about this? And then he starts pitching them some other thing he wants to do. He's like, I'm a good singer. I have a band with my buddies. We play like, can you get us a tour for the band? And the agent's like, yeah, Brad, sure. We'll let you know about that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's happening. I wonder if they're big celebrities who can't get their other thing made. I want to do a cooking show. Maybe the cooking show would be easier because it's like a popular crossover thing for actors now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's probably sad. I'm sure there's a lot of actors that are multifaceted that got hot for the thing that they're not as passionate about.
Yeah, and now they're like playing fucking Mars Man, and they hate it.
Yeah.
They show up on set, they put on their little cape.
But they do it because they're making generational wealth as
Right.
opposed to acting or
Right.
whatever other medium.
So at that point, like, can you really hate it that much? Is it that soul sucking? If you're making so much money that it buys you so much time, isn't time the most valuable resource? And therefore, like, to be upset about that situation, what does that say about you? Is that like a thing that we can tolerate here in this discussion? Are we okay with that? Are we going to judge it? Or are we going to be like, listen, we don't know what it's like to be in their shoes. Maybe they want to be creative. Maybe that's all they care about is being creative, and they don't get to be. They only want to see this guy fly through the sky and CGI. And I mean, to make that rhyme, Rye.
Yeah.
Until
the day they die.
Yeah, until the day they die. And all they want to do is XYZ. I mean, a person who's been good about being able to do that is a guy like Rob Pattinson. He's been true. It seems like he's been true to himself.
Yeah.
And been able to do blockbusters and shit.
If I were to put myself in their shoes, I would have to think that is a much better position to do something and like make a ton of money, not get to do your favorite thing, but then have the time in the future, as opposed to getting to do the one thing that you did want, and like trade your soul to the devil. Like, isn't there a book, the painting of Dorian Gray?
I don't know it.
I think that's a book about a guy that trades his soul to the devil. Read it in school. And just like trade your soul to the devil, get your fame, and then die. Or do something else awesome and be revered and don't necessarily get to do the thing that you love the most, but you'll get to do it when you're done doing what you need to do now. You're like paying forward. You're paying it forward.
Right.
At least having the money to be able to do that.
Will that day come?
Yeah.
There's variables.
Yeah.
You know, will you be young enough? Will you be healthy enough? Will you want to still do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I can't, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would be like that, but I can't imagine the resentment that you'd have if you were forced to do something, to do something that's so profitable and not like bad.
Right. Well, not bad, meaning like most people.
Not negative.
Right,
Like,
right. Got you. Because yeah, it does seem like people in society hit a level of wealth where they no longer care about it because they don't have to. And then they start thinking about other shit and they get really into some other thing. Like the tech billionaire guys all seem to be very hobbied up, whether it be about like slowing the aging process, or, you know, Mark Zuckerberg is like a kung fu fighter or whatever. And like Elon Musk seems to be doing a whole bunch of shit. I wonder, or people try to get into politics. They've conquered money, now power. Sounds interesting. You know what I mean? And I have no idea, because money is typically my biggest worry and thing I think about, and prevents me from being able to do the things I want to do. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But I've been thinking about you, Lynch. I want you to say what you were going to say, because I was going to change the topic.
I was just going to say, think about one of your favorite actors. Who would you think of? Javier Bardem. Can you just give me an example of something that he's done?
No Country for Old Men. He's the bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
that's if anybody who doesn't know who Javier Bardem is, that is a mainstream person.
I know who.
You know I'm not gonna say.
No. He's in Dune. Yes,
That's so douchey to name somebody nobody's ever heard of.
No. I recognize the name, but I needed to put a face to the
He's
name.
so
Okay, so you love him. He's
Love him.
great.
He's great.
If this scenario played out in real life, the Brad Pitt thing, if you wanted to become a band, okay, so what is his name again?
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem.
It's actually a perfect example.
What if he just comes out and he asks his agent he tells his agent, I want to become an ice skater. Like, I want to be an ice skater and my knees are fine. I want to join the Olympic team and be an ice skater. As a fan of him, would you be interested in seeing that process?
Oh, interesting. So the whole idea is he wants to document himself becoming an ice skater.
Not even him documenting
He's
it,
just
but
gonna
just
do it.
knowing, like, in pop culture, like, oh, he's going to pivot.
Okay.
Like,
So
does that interest you?
not really, but I'll say this. That is a unique thing where nobody can stop him from doing that if he's actually good enough. He can go compete. If he scores high enough, he gets to do it. There's certain things that are more subjective where, like, music. There's plenty of people who are like solid at music. So like he might be good enough at music or whatever interest that he might have that's a little less black and white than like a skill thing where like you're competing against others and there's only one winner. You know what I mean? But for the purpose of, I get what you're saying, and I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if I'm interested, but that's a good point. Like I like seeing this guy as an actor. That's what I know about him. Javier Bardem, the figure skater, potentially less interesting to me unless I like figure skating. Or maybe it makes me like figure skating. I don't really know. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because you get known for this one thing, so then changing to the other thing can be hard, which is part of why I retired Lil Young Big. Because I was spending a lot of time on it, and I'm like, if this goes too well, this is all I'm going to be doing. And I don't want that.
You'll be at a point of no return.
Right? Especially if like, you know, you do characters, whatever, like you get known for the characters, suddenly nobody cares about Giulio. Lil Young Big becomes more pervasive than Giulio. And dude, it would happen in my relationships, which I think I've talked about this maybe, but maybe not. One girlfriend I had would tell me that she thought Lil Young Big was like really hot in a way that like I was not. That's crazy.
Like she would want you to be Lil Young Big in the bedroom.
Like it never necessarily came to that. Although one time I think she did come to a live performance and like came backstage and we may have like canoodled. Nothing like serious. We didn't go all the way, as they say in middle school.
I get what you mean though. She was attracted to the persona.
And I leaned
not
into it
Giulia.
at that moment. But she also knew what she was doing. She was being antagonistic and trying to make me insecure and like feel destabilized the way that maybe she does in general. It was like one of those kind of things. You know, it's a little deep. But she succeeded. And I found myself watching Lil Young Big and being pissed at him. Being like, dude, you suck.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for me, dude. And then I'm like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's an interesting
It is interesting. Jared Leto is like the guy that comes to my mind that like you can't even put him into the equation there because he's just transcended everything.
Yeah.
Whether you like him or not, he does what he wants and like he's interesting.
Yeah.
And he'll do whatever he wants and it's not going to negatively affect anything. And I don't even know what to call him. I wouldn't call him an actor. I wouldn't call him a musician. He's just like, he does whatever he wants and he's pretty good at everything he's been doing.
He's a ball of energy.
He is.
Well, yeah, because now it reminds me that there are some like conventional paths for crossing over that make no sense though. Like the fact that they always try to make rappers into actors, I don't really understand that. Is it because like they're so popular that the film thinks that it'll drive eyeballs to it that they wouldn't otherwise have?
Well, like the Are We There Yet movie with Ice Cube? Like,
sure. You know, but he was like one of him and like Tupac, but I think Tupac like went to art school and like was an actor also. I don't know that for sure. But like Jack Harlow, Ludacris, and suddenly they're being credited as like Jonathan Ludacris Stevens. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's not Ludacris' real name, but and that to me makes no sense. I don't get that. Is that just like where rappers go to retire or acting? And like, why have we allowed that? And it sort of like is an example of what we're talking about not applying, because apparently you can just do that.
Yeah, I think if you're just a big enough popular personality, you can pivot. Like Shaquille O'Neal, you know he's a DJ?
Totally, but like...
Isn't it Shaq Diesel?
Right, but like, why is that so like under the radar?
I know. Yeah,
really get
he's
it's
really...
weird.
I've never like seen anything about it, but if I ever like seek it out, like he's doing big venues.
Yeah.
And like he has a big following, but he like I see him on TNT covering basketball.
How big of venues is he doing? Look this up because I would like to go. We should go to this.
I'd love to see him.
He does like EDM.
I think so.
Yes.
Shaq Diesel.
So cool.
He's
pretty multi-talented. But yeah, him as the rapper like didn't really. He was good at it too. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I guess maybe you can cross over. But what makes it so that you can?
DJ Diesel, that's his name.
Do you just have to be that? Do you have to be like a top 10 most famous guy? Is Michael Shannon not famous enough to get the band off the ground? Like Shaq at one point, easily top 10 famous guy. O.J. Simpson.
I can't get a set number, but I'll put this picture in the YouTube version. Like, there's thousands of people there.
Yeah. Maybe
And
that's like a festival.
also DJing is one of those things where I feel like you can easily get slotted in, where it's not like he's not selling out like a DJ Diesel concert. He's at like a what's it called?
Right, like a festival or an
festival.
existing thing.
And he can just get slotted
He's
in
one
for
of
a
the guys.
cameo set. But I mean, you look up DJ Diesel, it's Shaquille O'Neal
It's
as
so
if
crazy.
he never was a basketball player with hundreds of photos of him DJing. And you wouldn't, if you didn't know he played basketball, you'd never know because there's no
It's so
reference to it.
crazy.
It's a whole different person, a whole different
So
life.
crazy. Yeah. So I like, is it like you just need to be good enough? If you're good enough, then does it make the crossover easy at anything? And I know that like the figure skating is more obvious, but like if your band is just fucking awesome, do you get to become Jared Leto? And maybe Michael Shannon's niche is too niche, or maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's not trying. Maybe he just wants to jam anonymously at a small venue. People hear about it and they come.
Organically.
Woody Allen plays jazz every week, apparently, on the Upper West Side. That's always been a thing. So maybe it's just like to scratch a creative itch, and these people aren't actually trying to do it. Because if they did, maybe they'd have more success. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know why this conversation, my heart is pounding.
It's stressing you out?
No, I'm not stressed. But I don't know why I'm so excited about this. It is.
good.
It's very interesting. I'm floating right now.
That's good.
Yeah. Jared Leto is an insane person to me in a good way, in nothing but good ways. So, yeah, that was it.
Solid.
Yeah.
How are we doing over there?
35.
So Lynch, I was thinking about you the other day. As you're playing the TikTok game, and you have your things that have like ripped, and you're figuring out what's going to be your next ripper. And I think that it should just be whatever you want it to be.
Thank you. Do you see I posted a video recently like talking
you got
about
one cooking?
No. I mean, I posted a video talking about the lack of Chipotle videos and how I'm ready to move on.
Oh, interesting.
And I feel like now the conversation that we just had, I'm pigeonholed in the TikTok community to just be the Chipotle guy.
Yeah.
Because my entire following is because of the Chipotle.
Uh-huh.
Not my entire following, but I'd say like 50% of it.
Yeah.
And when I don't make Chipotle content, it's like Dance Monkey Dance. And
No, so dude, like the Rick Rubin book you should read. It's about this, sort of. And it's about how sometimes you should just make something and it doesn't have to make sense.
yeah.
And it'll make you happier.
Yeah.
So like there is this like reality where you need to sustain your living also. Like this is like how we make a living. So like how do you do what you want and what you're passionate about, but also the thing that will allow you to continue doing this as your job? And there may not be like a clear answer to that, but like I really do agree with a lot of the stuff that he says where like it doesn't need to make sense in my opinion.
This is Rick Rubin.
Yeah. And I agree with it. And I think that like we didn't get into this because, we got into this because we're like creative people. We're funny. We're creative. We like making stuff, maybe not everybody. And maybe I shouldn't speak for you. If you don't feel that way about yourself, then I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but like make the thing you think is funny. You know what I mean? Like to all the Chipotle people out there listening, if you're truly a fan of Lynch and you support him, you're fine with him pivoting to other things. And if they don't, like, fuck him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be similar. The Chipotle thing was like a random organic Lynch genius creation. Started this incredible movement and wave that you should be proud of. Great resume builder. And whatever other funny thing you want to make, if it doesn't go viral, it doesn't mean it isn't good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a numbers game. I did make the video though, just like you said. I was like, if Chipotle comes out of my mouth, the video will do so much better than anything that I've done the last couple months. And it was just kind of playing the game a little bit. Let me just acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love what I've been putting out lately. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing that, and then I'll strike gold when I strike gold next. But like you said, make money on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like so, like I was like, okay, well let me just bring them up, and let me like find a reason to organically say. A lot of comments I was getting a lot lately was like, did they pay you to shut up? Or like, did they threaten to sue you?
Oh man.
And so I was like, okay, this is an opportunity to talk about them without doing too much. So it is interesting, but
yeah, because dude, I have this conversation a lot too, where it's like there'll be one thing that I do or did that like people liked or responded well to, and people will wonder why I don't do it anymore. And sometimes the answer is just I don't wanna, and that can be okay.
Yeah.
Like you need to be aware of the fact that you might starve if you're too stubborn. Like we talked about this on the JP episode, but like if your agent is like, should you want to submit for SNL? Like even if SNL isn't your favorite thing, like if you don't have anything going on, it's a possible opportunity to like further your career. So like you should do it. But when it's like your own content that you're creating yourself, like it should be stuff that you at least like or think is funny. So like, I don't know. There's a way to do both. But I think first and foremost, it's good to like follow the creative passion because in theory, when you make something good enough, everything falls in line for you in general. Like if you make something good enough or you catch on, if you get onto something or if you beat your head against the wall doing the same thing for long enough, like maybe something good will happen. Maybe it won't and you'll just die. But like we've seen it happen all the time. The people who set the trends, they set out and did something that made no sense, which is why no one saw it coming. And then suddenly here they are. There's this big successful person and everyone else in the industry is trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Right. So like, how do you balance that with knowing that if you don't make money, you're going to starve? And that's an ongoing question that I don't know anybody can answer, but I know that my version of this is like, I love the travel videos that I make and they have generated $0. And if anything, they've generated a six-figure sum that have come out of my pocket. And I don't regret it. And I think that, if I'm able to make enough of them over a period of time, I think eventually I will get what I want out of it. And maybe I won't. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
And maybe I'll never get to that point. And then people will be like, well, why don't you do it this way? Because that way sucks. And I'm not doing that. Well, but people do that and that would go against the reason why I'm doing this to begin with. I'm just going to do the bad thing that the other people do because it makes more sense. No, I'm going to figure out a way to do it this way or I'm not going to do it. If I were to just do that way, it's already unsustainable. I just shot my special. That was where my money this year went. So I don't have money to like make the travel thing. So it's like, where do you compromise? Where don't you? You know what I mean? So like, maybe, if it's some job that I get hired to do that I'm uninspired by, but like I'm going to get paid. So of course I'll go do it. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to spend all my time chasing that part of my job. Or maybe like doing a comedy gig that I don't want to do, or like, I don't know. But like, I think it's sacred to me to have that one part of my business where I do it the way that I want and, hope for the best, I guess.
It's inspiring shit, dude.
I hope so, dude. I'm glad that it feels that way. But, there are times where, like Lynch is almost like my son in a way. Like if sometimes I'm wondering what you're thinking and I'm like, I wonder how he's doing. And then I start like wondering if there are days where you're stressed out or depressed. And I'm like, I hope Lynch is feeling all right. And I don't know, you may have never felt depressed. I have no idea how you're feeling, but I think about the different scenarios of how you might feel and what that might mean about you. And like, it makes me think about this stuff. And I have an inner dialogue where I'm like, well, yeah, like Lynch had those Chipotle videos. That's so sick. He must be making a bunch of money. Like, good for him. That's sick. And then I'm like, oh, like, I wonder if it's hard for him to transition out of doing Chipotle content and what that feels like.
I'm like coming and wearing napkins. Hey, Giulio, can I use your bathroom?
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And also like, here Lynch is, he has this pod that does well. And we have these big comics on there. And I wonder if it's tricky to like see everybody at their like 10-year mark when he's at his like earlier mark and balancing like having access and needing to also not be able to cut corners. And I wonder if that's challenging and like a mind fuck. Like I always am just thinking about this. So it makes me think about sort of like the brain and like where it goes while all this shit's happening. So that's why I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But it's so rewarding. Especially when whatever it is, whether anything creative, if anything hits. I'm not saying videos, just anything.
Anything.
It's so rewarding.
Totally.
That's why I jumped out of my job. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Good for you.
I don't want to do that. This was it's a lot of ups and downs, but it's good.
Yeah, I mean, look, you
At
figure
least
out,
trying, yeah.
you make it work. If you can handle the lows, you know what I mean? Like, I'd say that there's a low point for every single person that would make them quit. Like, you know, and you see it happen to people and you understand, you know what I mean? So I've always said that the important thing is to keep enough positive things happening in the gas tank of your career to keep you going. And once you run out of that, you are fucked. So like, whatever that might be. And there are periods of time where I have needed to, and in the future, I'm sure we'll feel this way too, like really think about what those positive things are, because it seems like there are so few of them. So it'll be like, well, I'm going to sit down and write down the positive things every day, because otherwise it's going to be hard to source them. And, you know, just trying to keep, stay even keel, even if you have some negative momentum, because like you might have a series of bad weeks or months or even years, and it can be hard to like erase that and just look forward. It's hard to like not sit there and bathe in the legacy of your failure. You know what I mean? And which is why I think the tennis metaphor is so powerful, where it's like, you just missed the easiest fucking shot in the world. You would have won the match if you hit it, and you missed, and now you're still on the court. It's so hard to not think about that, but you need to, or you're going to lose. So the best thing that you can do is to just focus on the point as if that last point never happened, because you have all the skills to execute and do what you have to do. And then if you lose, you lose. It's okay if you lose, if you put your best foot forward. But God forbid, and I see this happen to comics. So if anybody wants to do comedy someday, and I'm sure this applies to business or entrepreneurship or whatever, it can apply to like lots of different work, not just comedy or creative pursuits, but you can waste a lot of time being negative and not realizing that you were like manifesting everything that happened because of what you were putting out there. As corny as that sounds. But I've seen a lot of mopey dopey comics being like, they all do this. They're kind of just like making excuses constantly. Oh, well, the industry doesn't like me right now. Or, they'll never cast me in that. Just deciding your fate before you even try to work around the obstacles. There's going to be obstacles. You know what I mean? So we end up in this kind of conversation a lot, but you know, it's a good one. And I think that it's the type of thing where I'm always impressed by people who survive and stay the course, because there's just like dark moments doing comedy.
I mean, you must have seen so many people in your tenure
Stop doing
coming in and coming out. And I'm sure you've seen people that you thought were going to be like amazing, and then they dropped out, and that surprised you
all the time.
And probably vice versa.
It's less common than the other way around. Well, but
the other way around would be people that you thought would suck, but then were great.
Yeah, I would say no. It was like people. Well, yes, that's more common. Is people, you think people have no talent and then they end up doing well, as opposed to people who you thought were going to be huge who end up quitting.
Yeah,
the people who you think are going to be huge, chances are they're already doing kind of well, so they need to like really fuck it up at that point. But when we were all sort of like many steps away from like making money, like there was definitely guys who were like in the in crowd who like never panned out. That's definitely a thing that happens. But dude, I mean, it's one of those things where there really is camaraderie within the community. Like there can't be, that people outside of it can't understand, because we all know how bad the low moments feel. Like you literally, it's like a bad feeling. And you know, on any given day, I'm feeling all of the different scenarios that I've laid out. And I'll tell you what, like comedians much more successful than me are the same way, and less successful. And, you know, it's one of those things where if things are good, you find something that's bad, and that bad thing feels as bad as somebody whose bad thing is way worse than yours, which is fucked up.
That is fucked.
That is a fucked up thing. So, you know, remember that no money or anything is going to solve all your problems. And I think it's important to like take stock of your life if you're able to do it, not to be too hoity-toity, but like there is value in just being like, okay, let's like take a step back and evaluate all of this non-emotionally and see where we stand. Because you feel this way, but what is the reality of that? You can be those two people at the same time. And to me, it makes me feel better when I'm not feeling good. And I guess the whole point of this, Lynch, is to say that you're doing a great job.
Thank you,
And
Giulio.
there's no part of me that thinks that you don't think that. All I'm saying that if you ever think that, you shouldn't feel bad.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Because, it's tough out here. It's a grind, but we continue ripping it and doing the Lord's work. Check out some of our stuff coming up. The link in my bio on all my socials. You can also go to notjulio.com. I put my tour dates there, but the link in bio is nice because you can put your city in, which helps me figure out where I'm going to tour. So definitely keep utilizing that function. I have Columbus, Ohio coming up at the Funny Bone. Also, the Crocodile in Seattle coming up again in October. And also St. Pete, Coastal Creative, the 20th and 21st of September. Specific dates, notjulio.com, and also link in bio at notjulio, notjulio.g on Snap and TikTok. Also follow us at Oops the Podcast. Send us emails, oopspodcast@gmail.com, oopspodcast.com for merch, including the sick Ryan Lynch's Pizza Pie shirt.
Yeah, we got a lot of people ordering the big Oops t-shirt as well. That's a sexy one. The whole store is so sexy. I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but it's just like the most amazing graphic design that you could possibly get.
Agreed.
It's
curated
just
it
how I
nicely.
feel, and that's an unbiased fact. Yeah. Comment below an actor. Well, actually, you set it up.
Okay. Comment below an actor that has a weird crossover skill that we don't know about.
And share whatever that skill is.
Share whatever that is. An under the radar, jack of all trades actor that we don't know about. That's it. Bye.
Bye.